And we'll start to see the chat fill up. Beautiful. I'm here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we're going to start with a little bit of grounding about what's going on in Minneapolis right now. Some other folks from Minneapolis. Welcome to our Roadmap to Revolution call. We'll take a few minutes. The music can still keep playing for a minute. Keep introducing yourself. Start in just a minute or two. And maybe share how you're feeling as you're coming into this call. A heavy week, exhausted, angry, feeling fire. Oh, and one thing, make sure when you're sending messages, you're sending them to everyone and not just to the host and panelists, because we want people to be able to talk to each other. Hopeful after Sunday's webinar, amazing. Great, let's get started. It's great to hear these from everyone. Hey everyone, like I said, my name is Aru. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Sunrise's executive director, and I'm also a Minnesotan. I live here in South Minneapolis, and I'm really excited to get into today's call with you. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in the ground in Minneapolis, but we're going to spend the bulk of the time actually talking about how to get out of what's going on, not just here in Minneapolis, but in this country. And if there's anything I've learned in the last 3 weeks, it's that yes, things have been horrifying and scary, but I also really believe that we're hitting a turning point in Trump's regime, which is making me feel pretty excited to be on this call with all of you guys and think about what the future could look like. Um, I'll start talking a little bit about what's happening in Minneapolis. It's really clear now that we are no longer living in any semblance of a democracy. Living in Minneapolis feels like living in some sort of like war zone or some sort of occupied territory. I know there's other people on the call from the Twin Cities, from Minnesota, so feel free to share what you're living through as well. But I know for me, it's just this sense of like every time you walk down the street, you could encounter an ICE agent. I walk around with my passport now. I have friends who have been pulled over and dragged out of their cars. I have friends who have had like weapons pointed at their heads. Um, Businesses lie empty. Sometimes you'll see like cars where people have been pulled out. There are entire neighborhoods that you drive through them, and even if you're in your car, you can like smell sort of the sickly sweet smell of tear gas coming through your car's exhaust. It's really scary in many, many ways. It's really heartbreaking in really many ways. But ICE, ICE is a way for Trump to try and divide us against each other. It's a way for him to try and make us blame each other for our low wages instead of the fact that billionaires are making record profits every year. It's a way for him to try and blame each other, for him to try and get us to blame each other for the fact that people are losing jobs instead of like the relentless expansion of AI. And it's meant to make us scared. It's meant to keep us scared and at home and distracted because we believe that we're going to, have the hope ground out from under us. And the thing that is really beautiful about being in Minneapolis right now, that makes it like maybe the most beautiful experience I've ever lived through, is that his actions have sort of had the opposite effect. In the last few weeks, have seen the most incredible organizing and acts of solidarity that I have ever seen. I can't shake the fact that, like, when Renee Good and Alex Pretty got shot, the response of tens of thousands of people was to go and do the exact same thing that they were shot for doing. Yesterday, on a Ice Watch training online, 200,000 people across the country joined an Ice Watch training to learn how to do what Renee and Alex did. And I think Trump thought maybe that he could shoot us and we would like stay at home scared, something like that. And it's just had the exact opposite effect. So yeah, I'm like really it feels dystopian to live here right now, but it's also like the most beautiful effort of organizing and solidarity that I've ever seen, the most beautiful display of courage that I've ever seen. And, 5% of every neighborhood, but 4 to 5% of every neighborhood in Minneapolis is currently in a signal chat organizing for ICE patrols. There's a neighborhood near me called Frogtown where every single day there are 1,000 people out patrolling at any given time. So I feel really proud of the way that Minnesota is showing up right now. And I think it's actually showing us the model for beating back fascism. The way that authoritarian regimes get brought down, historically, is that they overreach. They overplay their hand. And I think that's what they've done just now in Minneapolis. We're starting to see increasing amounts of people actually start to walk away from what Trump is saying, walk away from government narratives about what's happening right now. And when that starts to happen, it's critical that movements step in, that movements actually step in to move the public, to change the political status quo, and start to remove key supports from the regime. And if we do that successfully, if we make sure that it's not just a question of people sitting at home in their houses thinking, I don't really like this anymore, but actually we're able to transform that shift in public opinion into taking away material support for the regime, that is how we can make these moments backfire on Trump. And that's how we can use this to grow our movement and eventually to kick out Trump altogether. How did that actually work? Well, it basically lies in a very, very simple concept, which is that in Minnesota, we started acting like ordinary people actually have power over society. Everything that we're taught is that we are powerless, that the person in charge gets to decide everything, and that we just have to follow orders. And the thing we discovered in Minnesota, the thing that a lot of people know, is that that is just not true. ICE relies on us to function. ICE relies on people quietly staying in their homes when their neighbors are getting grabbed. ICE relies on hotel workers being able to house them. ICE relies on rental car agencies being able to rent them cars. ICE relies on restaurants and food delivery services to be able to get food. ICE relies on working roads in order to be able to actually get around in the day-to-day. Those are all things that ordinary people have control over. And when we actually realize that, when we start to withdraw our consent in that way and say that actually we're not going to be able to house you, we're not going to give you cars, we're not going to stay at home in our houses when you grab our neighbors, that's when ordinary people have power. That's when we actually start winning. I'd love to see in the chat, what are some of the ways in which people are seeing movements currently make this moment backfire on Trump and bring in new people and shift the political reality? What are some wins that we're seeing? I'll wait for a second while people type. Minneapolis having the first general strike in decades, labor strikes and economic boycotts. The NRA, yeah, this is a really key one. The NRA came out saying that they disagreed with the official statement of what happened. I saw someone mention the Hilton sit-in that happened in New York City yesterday. We're starting to see more and more people actually target the institutions that are upholding ICE. And we're going to talk more about that in a second because that's exactly what the Sunrise Twin Cities Hub has been doing. I know that in Minnesota, we actually had the Republican candidate for governor actually drop out because he didn't want to stand for the Republican Party. People are getting texts, there's trainings constantly, 200,000 people doing a No Kings Observer training. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying. Like I'm like, this is hitting a turning point. Tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people are getting involved like they've never gotten involved before. New people are choosing our side, like the NRA, like Republicans, celebrities, businesses. Um, and look, I'm not saying that we've won. We have a really long way to go, but we realized how much power that we have, and we started to take away the actual ways that ICE is able to operate, take away the things that we have control over so that ICE has to stop. So yeah, we have a long way to go. Right now, we're in this situation where an egomaniac is building out a paramilitary force that is accountable only to him. He's breaking every rule book and he's just doing it all to get him and his friends richer. He's doing it all to get him and his billionaire friends richer. And so we need to kick him out of power, and we need to do more than that. We need to actually change the structures that brought him into power in the first place. We'll talk about this more later, but so often what happens is that in fascist or authoritarian regimes, a huge effort comes around to try and kick a person out of power. And then when they're out of power, they don't fix the things that brought the fascists into power in the first place. And so it's really important that we not just end Trump's regime, but actually build a future that wins structural political changes so that our political system can work for all working people, not just billionaires. And I'm really excited to build that world together, to build a world where we can all have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink and a livable future to look forward to where the climate isn't warming and where people can have access to affordable healthcare and where people don't have to be scared of going outside and aren't scared of sending their kids to school. I'm excited for that world because that's what we're building. And yeah, we have a really long ways to go, but I really believe that this is a turning point. I believe this is a turning point, and that many years from now, we will look back on this moment in the history books and know that in Minneapolis, this overreach cost the regime. I'm going to pass it to Sean, my fellow hub member in the Twin Cities. And Sean is going to talk a little bit of a specific campaign that we've been running here in the Twin Cities around how we've been going on the offensive against ICE.
Hello, I'm Sean. I use he and they pronouns, and I'm from the Twin Cities, born and raised here. And I'm with the Minnesota, yeah, the Sunrise Twin Cities chapter here, or hub, I should say. And yeah, it's been really disorienting and just honestly very scary being in the Twin Cities right now. And I think, leading up to this, very feeling very afraid of the world and kind of paralyzed, especially like since the 2020 uprisings, just really feeling like I couldn't access my voice, and kind of sitting and feeling powerless, witnessing the horrors that are happening, and I'm sure many people are also feeling. And yeah, I went to a training in October that Sunrise was hosting, and just kind of started getting involved from there. And it's been really great because I think once we move into action and engage in community more deeply, uh, it really, I don't know, it feels like you can really do something. Like you're actually doing something and you're changing the world. And so yeah, that's how it's been for me. And something that we've been doing here in this Twin Cities is we've been narrowing in on going after hotels from various angles because the hospitality industry is a key player that's abetting this regime's terror campaign on our communities. And these hotels, they act like it's business as usual when it's nothing like that for us, who have to deal with these undisciplined, pathetic thugs, right, who are brutalizing us and our neighbors in the streets. And this isn't normal, and we can't let these hotels continue to pretend that it's normal. Um, and yeah, these agents too, like they obviously need somewhere to sleep. And if we can't sleep peacefully due to the fear and the chaos that they're creating, neither should they. So what we've been doing is we've been gathering intel on which hotels have been housing ICE through various methods, and then publishing those hotels publicly on a regularly like updated list. Some of the approaches that we've taken to go after these hotels using this list are like one, we did calling campaigns to the hotels and also to the owners and like to corporate as well, which has been really effective. We actually had the first hotel that defected, so the Hampton Inn that refused service, and then Hilton decided to uh, disown them. They actually did that because they had received such an influx of calls from people that we had mobilized to do that. Um, and then, additionally, we've also been doing having people make reservations at these hotels in mass and then canceling them last minute when you can still get like a refund. And that just really disrupts their operations and kind of hits them at their bottom line. And so that's been another really effective tactic that we've been taking. Uh, One other one that I'll mention then is the wide awakes, or you might also consider them noise demos. Um, we've been doing those where we either go in the evening, where these are more like public ones, or also in the middle of the night in smaller groups, where we go to these hotels and just make a ton of noise. Just whatever we want, just be disruptive as possible, right? Um, First off, to wake up the ICE agents because they suck. We don't want them to sleep. Um, and also because these hotels shouldn't be housing these ICE agents, and we want the guests to complain to the hotels and also not want to stay at these hotels in the fear that uh, they're gonna, be woken up in the middle of the night. And these have been really cool. And I think, you know, we've had some hotel employees actually request that we do a wide awake at their hotel just so that they can have an excuse to cook ice out, which has been really heartwarming. We've also had other guests at the hotels. Some guests come out, they're really angry, understandably. But we also have some guests who are so excited to see us there. Just on Friday night, we did noise demos at 4 hotels in a row. And at the third one we were at, two girls were at the window and they were just so excited and they were waving at us. Um, yeah, it was really heartwarming to see that part too. And yeah, I think what's really cool is it's such a cathartic outlet for us as well. I think especially noticing that one when we did a massive demonstration at the Canopy Hotel in downtown Minneapolis. We were expecting maybe a few hundred people to show out. It ended up being like 2 or 3 thousand people, way more than we had expected. And this was immediately after the murder of Renee Good. And so people were angry, people were sad, and for us to have this outlet to give people this outlet to make noise and just be disruptive in that sense and really mess with ICE's operations was really great. And so what we've been doing since then too is we've been trying to grow our ability to go to more hotels. So within the Twin Cities itself, we've been doing trainings and just trying to decentralize the wide awakes so that we don't have to keep doing them ourselves because we need to get sleep as well. And so really trying to get that. So like I guess few nights ago, there was even one wide awake that we hadn't planned, but someone else had. Uh, and it definitely got a little out of hand. But that was where ICE agents were actually evacuated. And like they were basically just kicked out in the middle of the night. So that was really, I don't know, it was really cool to see that sort of thing happening. And also like in New York City, yesterday, there was a sit-in in the lobby. And also, I believe in Austin, there was one recently as well. And yeah, it's really cool to see this. We want to be taking this nationwide. And we have a lot of um, other cities that are planning these as well. We have, I think, Portland, Kansas City, DC, Orlando. I'm sure if you want to shout them out in the chat too, if you already have them planned or you've
We'll
already
shut
done
them
it.
out in the chat. Amazing.
But yeah, uh, it's been really great to see this stuff happen. And yeah, these hotels, they continue to profit off of this violence. And I
Agreed.
think we collectively hold the power to hit their bottom line and
I love that, Sean.
punish them for collaborating with fascists.
Yeah, it's been really powerful to see. It's been really powerful to see it spread across the country. I'm going to tell you guys more in a minute or two about what we've been doing across the country and how we're going to bring this nationally with a No Sleep for Ice campaign. But before I do that, I want us to actually hear from a congressperson who has right now been doing a ton of work to actually bring ICE to account. He was here on the ground with us in Minneapolis yet 2 days ago, Congressman Ro Khanna. And I'll just say that like there is no bringing ICE to account without political power, without elections. At the end of the day, we can build incredibly strong movements, but if we do not have power in elected office, we are not going to win. And right now, the Democratic Party is not behaving in the ways that we need them to, if we actually want to be able to stop ICE. Yeah, Barack Hanna is the U.S. representative for California's 17th congressional district. He's been a huge Sunrise ally and a Green New Deal champion for years, and I'm really excited to hear from him to speak.
Well,
Go
thank
ahead.
you. Thank you for your incredible leadership and for Sunrise's leadership. And thank you to everyone on this call. I was just in Minneapolis, and my point to many Democrats is this is not the time just to be on social media or to be on the floor of Congress. We need to be on the streets. We need to be with the people who are standing up for justice and our freedoms. What happened was absolutely horrific in Minneapolis. Not just the fact that Alex Pretty was shot in cold blood and killed by ICE agents, but also the fact that that entire city is under siege. I went and I talked to a lot of the residents there, third and fourth generation Minnesotans, white Minnesotans, complaining about being surveilled, complaining about being followed to churches, complaining about having people go into their bookstores, and then immigrants, even legal immigrants, having to carry their passport around, worried about their kids being taken from them, worried about being deported, even though they have legal status. I mean, they have invoked such fear. And I believe that we need to stand up with moral clarity at this moment. What does that mean? It means that we need to call for tearing down ICE and to have a new agency that actually has oversight and respects our constitutional values. ICE is just gone rogue. It's out of control. It's institutionally violating human rights, and it will not be able to live up to those human rights because it has no oversight. We had INS from FDR until George W. Bush until we had the war on terror. And that war on terror militarized our foreign policy, but it also militarized our homeland. And we've got to understand that structural issue. We need to hold the line. No additional dollars to ICE. I don't want to see our senators cave, just like they caved when it came to the healthcare fight. I'm against masking ICE agents, but we can't cave on the additional funding just if they say, okay, we want mask ICE agents. We need much more fundamental reform, like getting rid of qualified immunity for ICE agents, which means that you should be able to have Alex Pretty's family sue the ICE officers who broke the law. And those officers need to be prosecuted and held accountable. And we need to recognize that we've tripled the ICE funding. We've got to repeal that. $75 billion has gone to ICE over the next 4 years, already allocated with the one big ugly bill. That money should be going to healthcare. That money should be going to childcare. That money should be going to clean energy jobs. That money should be going to housing. The Democrats should be for repealing that. But the bottom line is the Democrats have bought in to this rhetoric that immigrants were the problem when so many of our swing state senators voted for the Lake and Raleigh bill. I mean, the Lake and Raleigh bill was the framework that allowed for deportation without due process. We need to be a party that says we have the backs of immigrants. And maybe I feel personally about this because my parents were immigrants, because I'm the son of immigrants, because my grandfather spent 4 years fighting in India's independence movement and went to jail as part of that. I come from the tradition of Gandhi's independence movement, of Mandela, of Frederick Douglass, of Dr. King, of believing that we are working towards being a multiracial democracy. And I want the Democratic Party to find our moral courage to say immigrants do good, immigrants create jobs, immigrants are part of the community, immigrants are part of the fabric. That's what so many Minnesotans believe. And we need to be a party that has that clear articulation and a clear articulation about having immigrants' backs and going after these rogue ICE agents and tearing down an agency that is violating human rights and constitutional rights. By the way, violating the rights of people and detainees. I was at the California City Detention Center, met with 47 detainees. The stories were horrific. And actually call for a new agency that actually is inconsistent with human rights. I'll just say I appreciate what everyone is doing, and I look forward to being out in the streets, continuing to be with you. I have a town hall today in East Vegas with the immigrant community, and I'm going to continue to be out in the community, standing with the organizers and with people on the streets fighting for our country.
Ro, thank you so much for joining us today. I think it's rare to see politicians actually standing up to what's going on, and we are honored to have you in this fight with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing, Sunrise, and all the groups involved.
Thank you. As Ro talked about, there is like so much that we need to shake up about politics right now. And the reality is that the establishment of both political parties has totally failed us. The Republicans by accelerating our descent into fascism, but also, frankly, a lot of the Democratic Party. Like just last week, 7 Democrats voted to give ICE more funding in the middle of them literally shooting people in the streets. It's absolutely ridiculous. Um, and that becomes even more true on so many other issues. Like majorities of people oppose what ICE is doing. 70% of people support expanded pathways to citizenship for people in this country. 65% of people support Medicare for all. 73% support like a federal $15 minimum wage. Like 94% of people support the government spending more on solar energy. But we don't have any of those policies. Why? Because we have a broken political system where billionaires are able to exercise way too much control over both of our political parties. Billionaires have 2 parties, working people have none. And if we're serious about not letting fascism rise, we also need a serious plan to reform our political system and change that dynamic. So that's what our plan is in the next few years. I can go to the next slide. Right now, we are in the moment where we need to slow down the authoritarian consolidation that's happening right now, to stop ICE, to actually build up the power to have mass non-cooperation in this country, and to stop Donald Trump. And eventually, we need to turn that into the electoral power to actually kick him out in 2028. Because yes, the election may not be as free or as fair as we want it to be, but we also know that we need to show that majorities of people are against this regime, and we need to be able to vote Trump out. And when we do that, it is really important that we are able to keep that giant united coalition of groups that has come together to defeat Trump and actually turn it into structural political reforms that make this country fairer, that actually give everyday working people more power over our everyday lives. Because when our political system isn't working, when people don't have access to healthy food or food at all, when people don't have access to wealth care or a good job, that is what lays the groundwork for fascism to rise. And if we are serious about stopping fascism, we need to stop the economic conditions that enable it, the economic and political conditions that enable it. So that's what we need to be doing once we get Trump out of power. And if we do that, I truly believe that we can pass ambitious, transformative legislation that improves the lives of people all across this country. So what does that look like right now? Go to the next slide. This year, it looks like really focusing on building up the capacity for non-cooperation in this country. It looks like taking every time that Trump does something terrible and making it backfire. It means using those backfire moments to build our own capacity for things like walkouts and strikes and actions at Hilton hotels. And it also means that while we're doing that, we need to also shake up US politics and build a cohort of politicians who can actually stand up for what's right for everyday working people and who aren't under the thumb of billionaires. And one thing I want to say here is that what that means right now is that we're right now going to be running a no sleep for ICE campaign. This is one of the ways that we can actually knock out a pillar of support for how authoritarianism is operating. If ICE agents cannot find places to stay, they cannot invade our cities, and they cannot kidnap the people we love. This is our first time. The Twin Cities has been doing this. New York City did an action yesterday, and now we're taking it national across the country. We will share a forum later on how you can get involved in this campaign. And again, it's one step in a broader plan to build up to what political revolution looks like. All right, I'm excited to pass it to our next couple speakers. In the pathway to mass non-cooperation, students and workers always tend to be a key part. Students lead the way on student strikes. They are able to step out in front, and that has been happening here in Minneapolis as well. I am going to pass it to Ria and Josie to tell us more about Minneapolis student organizing.
Hi, my name is Ria.
My name is Josie.
I'm a student at Maple Grove Senior High, and in Minnesota, there's this feeling that all eyes are on us right now. Like history is repeating itself, and it's happening right where we are, which is such like a weird, crazy feeling. There's an element of fear in everyday life for everyone. Personally, I'm constantly scanning the roads that I'm on for cars that fit the description of an unmarked ICE vehicle. There are constant rumored or like stories, horror stories of ICE operations that are happening in my city or in Minneapolis. We see it on videos, we see it from people writing about it on like individual story posts, and it's terrifying. My friends that I speak to in school are so scared that um, if they speak up, their or their families will be targeted. And I am having conversations with my friends that border on casual about the fear and almost an acceptance that they might be stopped or taken on the streets. Um, and Yeah, Josie goes to Roosevelt Senior High, where there was, as everyone knows, the ice raid, and she's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I would say, God, I can't remember how long ago it was now, but about a month ago at Roosevelt High School, there was a pursuit of a man in a vehicle that ICE was chasing, and he got out near our school, and ICE pursued him onto school grounds. Community members, staff members, students all came out in order to legally observe, had their cameras, had their whistles, and ICE was extremely violent. Our students and staff were tear gassed. Our staff of color were tackled to the floor and detained in front of all of our students. It was broadcasted across the internet. And that was a really traumatic experience for students. I mean, across the nation, but especially in the Twin Cities and especially at Roosevelt. Um, Following that, our school shut down. There was a big call for healing in our school, and as students felt really scared, as Ria was saying, and really paranoid, like we couldn't trust anyone, and really angry. It feels really hard to be a student and see that and go through that traumatic experience as a community and feel like you can't do anything. Um, and fortunately, we found action and we found voice. One of the things we immediately did coming back to school was a massive walkout. Over half our school participated in a walkout. We had signs, we had our band playing. It was a really wonderful way to get the ball rolling for student action, student activism at our school, and it was quite empowering. So
Yeah, and beyond that, the students in Minneapolis and Minnesota are not staying silent. We have been planning organized mass actions among schools, especially in the metro area, and our next activity, our next
action.
protest action, yeah, is on this Friday, on January 30th at 2 p.m. Schools from across the metro area are going to walk out of school and go to the governor's mansion to deliver letters from our missing classmates and to demand that the immediate suspension of the policy that unenrolls students if they miss 15 consecutive days of school, the pause of standardized testing due to unequal education opportunity, and to provide free and safe buses for every student so that every student can get to school. We also have another National Day of Action on February 6th. From Minneapolis and from Minnesota to everyone, to students across the country, please, please gather a group and organize a walkout, organize public protest, because it's happening to us, but it could happen to another state at any time. And it's just,
It's horrific. It really is. But as students, you can oftentimes feel powerless, and now is your time to take power. Students have power, we have voice, and as a young generation, we have the capability to go out and fight for what we need and what we want in the streets and with our politicians and alongside our community members together.
Exactly. Youth awareness and political action can be a very powerful domino effect where young people see other young people raising their voices in the political sphere, which is a place that we are so often discluded from. And just to remember, students have so much power. We've been integral to most human rights movements on a global scale because we have this fire, and we don't accept the future that people and the older generation say will be our future. We have to live the rest of our lives in this world, and we won't stop until we change for the better.
Can we get some crats in the chat for Priya and Josie? And just like the incredible organizing students have been doing in Minneapolis is amazing.
Thank
And
you.
if
Thank you so much.
if you know students, recruit them. I'm honored to now introduce President Becky Pringle, President of the National Education Association. Look, there's no way that we're going to be able to stop fascism without organized labor. And Becky is the president of our country's largest labor union. Becky and NEA have been deep in partnership with Sunrise and many other organizations, building student and worker organizing power to make this May Day a huge moment in our fight against the billionaire class, against fascism, and for the world that we deserve. I am honored to pass it to you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Aru. Aren't our students incredible? Aren't they incredible? They make me proud to say I taught for 31 years, our middle level students in 8th grade. And we know that our young people have always been and always will be at the center of every movement. And I'm so proud of them, just so proud of them. If a society permits one portion of its citizenry to be menaced or to be destroyed, then very soon, no one in that society is safe. Those words by W.E.B. Du Bois remind me that during these dark times when federal agents can snuff out innocent lives on the streets of Minneapolis and claim self-defense, even as multiple videos stand in stark rebuke, when outrageous and illegal and deadly immoral ICE detentions cause the disappearing of children, including 5-year-old Liam Ramos. As we do the work of building a better world, we must also know that this is that time, that we need to keep each other safe. So on behalf of the education professionals who belong to the NEA, the National Education Association, thank you, Sunrise, for standing on the front lines in Minneapolis and in so many cities across our nation, demanding justice in all forms. Know that the NEA will continue to use our vast network, 3 million members, 51 state affiliates, 14,000 locals, members in every congressional district, to advocate and to partner, to take action, to educate, to organize, to mobilize, to litigate, and to elect people who believe in public education and in our Constitution. I am always honored to share a virtual space, virtual or in person, with Representative Khanna, and grateful for all that he is doing to stop ICE violence and overreach, and being steadfastly an ally of educators and our students. So no surprise, NEA is one of this administration's top targets. Dictators always come for educators because we teach the children how to think for themselves, how to question and analyze, to solve wicked problems, and to create community. to appreciate the world's diversity and to dream and to fight and to make this world a better place. This administration is using ICE to bring fear and trauma into our schools. You heard our students talk about that. It was palpable. Agents are traveling through neighborhoods, wandering past past schools and following school buses. They've even assaulted and detained educators and students on school grounds. Educators are seeing this damage every day. Empty seats and a rising need for counseling and mental health supports. In Minneapolis, where families and children are afraid to leave their houses to go to work or take students to the school bus stop, educators are delivering much needed supplies. And across the country, educators are organizing and standing in solidarity with parents to make sure our students have what they need. That sort of collective action is what is required of us now, right now, as we bear witness to the unimaginable. Our government's actively engaging in warfare against the American people. I'm talking about the kind of collective action between students and labor leaders and community leaders and working families that drew more than 75,000 people to Minneapolis last week. I'm talking about last year's May Day actions, the largest ever. And I'm talking about the courage and collective action that will bring us together again, May Day strong, standing in our power, continuing the fight against greedy billionaires and all who seek to line their own pockets by destroying the dreams and dignity of those who call this country home. Together, we will demand that this administration stop scapegoating immigrants just so they can implement cruel and callous policies and occupy our communities. Together, we will call for a country where working people can afford to feed their families, where no one is terrorized. For as long as it takes, we will not cooperate, knowing what research shows that when 3.5% of the population engages in sustained strategic escalation, those movements win. So we must continue to build our broad coalition to fight against the undemocratic and inhumane. And we also must fight forward. We have to create that vision of an inclusive and just society that protects our communities, respects our Constitution. We, the people, all of us, deserve that right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I need you all to stay strong and remember that solidarity, it's a verb. Thank you, Aru.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, your guys' incredible work. I just really truly believe it's going to take all of us, and you're showing us the way in many ways. With that, I look, it's going to really take all of us, like Becky said, and solidarity is a verb. And if you want to take action right now, we have a form for you to fill out to do that. So if you go to smvmt.org/take-action, there is a form for you to actually do things right now, wherever you are, and work to stop ICE, which is step one in our longer plan to build up to mass non-cooperation that can kick Trump out and win changes to our political system so it actually works for everyday people. So I'm going to let people take a second to type that in the chat. And while you type it in the chat, while you pull it up, I'll tell you more about all the different actions you can take later. But for now, I want to transition it to Maya Honda. Maya was appointed campaign manager for Zohran Mamdani's run for mayor in New York City in July of 2025. And I think we all saw Zohran's incredible campaign, And it really gave this wonderful jolt of energy to the left. I think so many fewer people would probably be here today, would be energized, would believe in our ability to win if it weren't for the campaign that you just ran. So I'm really excited to hear from you and hear about what it looks like to have a politics with courage. Over to you, Maya.
Awesome. Okay, can everybody hear me? Yes. Wait, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, it's so great to be here and really want to express a lot of gratitude to Sunrise and all the amazing people who organized this call. It's so important in these moments to come together and mobilize. And yeah, as she said, I had the honor to work for Zoran and so many other amazing candidates over the course of many years. And so there's a couple of pieces that I want to talk about. First is that politicians with courage in this moment can make a real difference. And we are seeing that in what Zoran is doing, right? The alternative had been Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo in New York City. And instead, what we have is someone who, when ICE was conducting these horrible raids, was unafraid to call to abolish ICE immediately on day one and speak out with courage, right? He was unafraid to call out the genocide in Gaza before so many other politicians were. And so early in his campaign, he made good on his promise to kind of announce a universal, like a move to universal childcare, right? In these moments, it's so important that we feel and see the difference that unbought, unapologetic, young, often young and diverse elected leaders can make. And it's really hopeful and it's really thrilling, and so proud to have been a small part of it. And it really reflects the moment that we are ready for. And I really also want to call out that it came from organizing, right? Mass organized members of membership groups, New York City DSA, New York WFP, Sunrise, so many others, took a candidate who was polling at 0%, literally 0%. And they got him to 5% just by knocking doors. And then they got him to 8%. And if you have a candidate that starts at 0%, he does not become mayor unless he gets to 5%. And that came from New York City DSA, Sunrise, WFP, so many other mass membership organizations. Zoran would not be mayor today if it weren't for people who got organized with membership groups, became leaders, developed over the course of so many years, and then took action. And more importantly than that, for that campaign, it was so crucial that we did not get distracted by despair, right? Trump was winning in the White House. So much was happening, but folks channeled their energy in these membership groups to knocking doors and making calls. And it was so important to see the moment and see a really clear picture of how in that moment, they were able to turn their action and turn their fear and despair into something that gave us all a lot of hope. And the other piece that I really want to shout out here is all of the losses that led up to that win, right? It is never just a win or lose. It's all about the leadership that you develop and the experience that you gather and the membership organizations that you build along the way, right? So I worked for India Walton, who won the Buffalo mayoral primary. And when we won that primary, we ended up losing the general. However, we had a bunch of moms in Buffalo who founded a chapter of New York WFP in Buffalo, and they are continuing to recruit and run people for office. So many of us were activated by Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren running for president. So much of the tech that we use right now, and so many of the volunteer leaders, particularly in areas like peer-to-peer texting, came from those campaigns, which did not win, but still built leaders. And so I want to encourage both the lack of distraction, the action in the time of despair, but also the understanding that every moment is building up to something bigger. And I also want to just give an enormous shout out to the potential wins that we can have coming down the pipe. I worked for Nida Alam in 2022. She's a proud Sunrise endorsed candidate, the first Muslim woman elected to public office in North Carolina. And she lost in 22 after significant spending from AIPAC and crypto billionaires, but she's back and running again. And we know that this moment is ready for her, Kat, and so many others like them. Nitha's district in particular is really young, ready for change, and we are seeing the message resonate so significantly, not just amongst young people. Today, I actually just had a call with like a 75-year-old retired Army chaplain who cold emailed the campaign and was like, Democrats aren't doing shit, sorry, and I'm ready for change. And I was like, totally, welcome to the movement. So we're gonna have him knocking doors. So I just want to really speak to the energy and momentum on the ground across the country that folks like Zoran have kind of fomented, and speak to the idea that in this moment, these elected leaders can do so much, and it would be incredibly, incredibly important and exciting for everyone on this call to commit to an action related to obviously direct actions that are happening on the ground, but also think about the electoral benefit and think about what it could be like to have a leader representing you who you feel proud to call your representative. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over. Really, really appreciate you guys for having me, and just appreciate all of your work in advance.
Maya, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for all the work you did to elect Zoran, for all the other candidates that you have worked so hard for. And that is honestly such a good transition to our next speaker, who I am going to tell you about while you take this form, smvmt.org/take action, and fill it out. So before I tell you about our next speaker, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this form. It's great to be on a call together. It's a lot better to organize together. I promise you, if you feel scared or isolated or alone, organizing for me has been the thing that has brought me the most joy, community, solidarity, hope in this time. And so I really recommend that you take this form and you pick one of these things to do. If you're a student, you should plan a student walkout. If you want to, and if you know where ICE is staying near you or you think you can figure it out, you should plan a wide awake outside of a hotel, where you wake up. The hotels in the middle of the night. If that's not your flavor, you can just invite some friends over and plan like a digital little action party. Or if you're a Sunrise Hub, or if you want to invite a bunch of people over and get them trained, you can plan a mass meeting where you actually train people on Sunrise's plan and get them oriented to what we can do to win. So fill out the form, and I actually want people to put in the chat when you filled it out and which one you selected. My biggest tip is you should check on Twitter and look for where their vehicles are parked to figure out where ICE is staying. And I can say more on different calls, or yeah, if you fill out the planning a wide awake option, we will try and help you. Pick number one. Amazing. Yeah. Okay, while people do that, I am really excited to introduce Kat Abugazala. Kat is incredible. Like, I would be so excited if Kat took office. Kat is running for office. Should have said that first. And I think there's just a real reality that most politicians do not get the stakes of what is happening. It literally took people being murdered and a huge wave of protest for some of the Democratic Party to start finding their spine. Kat is not like that. She is the daughter of an immigrant, a candidate on the forefront of calling for abolishing ICE and ending their terror. She is will champion the Green New Deal if she gets elected into Congress. And currently, Trump's Department of Justice has literally charged Kat in a federal indictment because of her protesting ICE's cruelty. So if there's ever a candidate who gets it and is right here on the front lines with us, it's Kat. And with that, I am really excited to pass it to Kat.
Am I on screen?
Yeah, you are.
Amazing. I just want to say thank you so much, Sunrise, for hosting this, and everyone that's in the chat. I mean, these have been the most amazing speakers to listen to, and we're really, really excited to work with y'all. And I just want to introduce myself. I'm Kat. I'm running for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois. That goes from uptown Chicago up to Evanston, West to Skokie, and then all the way to Crystal Lake or Evanston. So if you know anyone in that area, text them right now. I'm a researcher and journalist who covers the far right. My work helped get Tucker Carlson fired from Fox News, got me deposed by Elon Musk, and as just mentioned, I've been recently indicted by the Trump administration. These are charges very similar to the ones that are now levied against Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and other political dissidents and critics across the country. And it was less of a surprise than it should have been, because a lot of these losers that I used to cover now run the government. I decided to run because, like you, all of you. I feel a sense of urgency that I feel like a lot of our leaders don't. In our launch video, and sorry for the language, I said that Democrats need to grow a fucking spine. We need to think creative. We need to think big. We have to go beyond just strongly worded letters and different motions on the House floor. We have to be willing to put our bodies on the line for our constituents rather than expecting our constituents to take the brunt of the force of ICE, to take the brunt of the tariffs that Trump has enacted. We have to stop poll testing everything and instead impeach the president because, oh my God, how many times has he committed something that deserves impeachment? And we have to not just abolish ICE, but prosecute every single member of ICE, every single agent, every single person that has terrorized our community, and make sure that they are tried by the communities they terrorized. I think right now, one of the things we often see is political leadership taking the wrong lessons from things. And when they saw Zoran's campaign in New York, they thought, well, the answer is to be on TikTok more and to talk about affordability without understanding how intrinsically tied everything is, from climate action to affordability to healthcare to housing to groceries to education. We can't have any more half measures. We can't have any more piecemeal approaches. For our campaign, when I launched 9 months ago at this point, I think that a lot of people in political power didn't expect me to even be close to winning. And now we're tied for first. We are the only campaign in this race that is supported majority small dollar donations with over 55,000 donors. Our average donation is still $29. It's gone lower, actually. And that's because this is a people-powered movement. And as we've heard over and over and over again today, people have power. We've forgotten that. I feel like we've been trained not to think that we deserve good things, but we do. Early voting starts next week. Our election day is March 17th. It's one of the earliest primaries in the country, and we are going to win this thing, but we need everyone's help to do it. I'll also say, if you take a picture of your screen right now and tag us, we will make sure to repost it. We're just trying to reach everyone, and it's a lot of fun.
You had me taking out my phone ready to take a picture, but then
Oh
I
yeah, I'm expecting it.
Amazing. Yeah, Kat is fantastic. We're going to be phone banking shortly to actually get Kat elected. At the end of the day, none of this happens without real conversations and real people on the phones.
Can I hop in on that real quick?
Oh yeah, go ahead, please.
I got to be totally real. Whenever I come onto these things, I'm worried that it's just a webinar, and I wanted to make sure I didn't make any assumptions. We are going to be reaching out to people that are considered not worth reaching out to in primaries. And we don't believe in that in our race. We believe that everyone deserves representation. It's not that young people, it's not that immigrants, it's not that poor people don't vote. It's that we don't give them anything to vote for. I say as, a young working class child of an immigrant. So we are trying to turn out the people that have been most affected by the policies that our political class have enacted without caring about the rest of us. And if we can turn these people out, we can really show the voice of the working class. We're really excited about this. I just encourage everyone to remember that it's us with the power here, and phone banking does work. Yesterday we had office hours. We had so many people show up. We accidentally took over this entire cafe we were at, and multiple people there were there because they heard about phone banking and wanted to learn more about the campaign. So if this is your first time phone banking, get excited. It does work, and it's a lot of fun.
Thanks, Kat. I genuinely love phone banking. I love talking to people, but even if you don't love talking to people, phone banking can be just such a gratifying way of realizing that your conversations can actually make a difference and make people feel like they have agency, especially when you're phone banking for someone like Kat and you get to talk to someone who's like, I don't believe in politicians, and you're like, I realize why. I also share that, and let me tell you about this one. It's a really cool experience. So you should definitely hang around to help us phone bank on this call. Can people put an exclamation point in the chat if they filled out the form earlier, the take action form? Okay, beautiful. If you have not filled that out, if you're not putting an exclamation point in the chat right now, please go ahead and fill that out. And if you have filled that out, we have another form for you. That's we would love you to become a member or supporter of Sunrise. Sunrise is a membership org. We are, our members are what keeps us going. They do the work in our hubs. You met several of our members in the Twin Cities earlier on this call. And member dues help us function, especially in moments when we are getting attacked by the right all the time and when they are trying to take away our funding whenever they can. Membership and supporters are really key to Sunrise keeping. So if you have a minute, please go ahead and click on either smvmt.org/membership or smvmt.org/supporter. And we're a youth movement, so the members are under 35. And go ahead and fill out that form to make sure that we can continue doing the amazing work of kicking out ICE in the Twin Cities and bringing that campaign all around the country, and separately like getting amazing candidates like Kat elected. Yeah, it's fantastic. We really need people's support to be able to pull it off. And as people fill that out, oh, thanks. I just got a message from Jeff saying proud sustaining member. Amazing. Love to see it. Yeah, put something, maybe put me in the chat when you've filled out the membership form, or if you're already a member, because I would love to see those member and supporter forms fill out. Oh, wow, this is so nice. And with that, I will pass it to two of our members who are going to actually lead us into the phone bank.
Awesome. Can people hear me?
Yes, I think so.
Cool. Okay. My name is Sultan, and I'm making calls for Kat today because I want to fight her in Congress.
Hi, I'm Ari, and I'm making calls for Kat today because while we push against the administration currently, we need to lay the ground for the next generation of leaders like her.
And I'm Katie, and I'm making calls today because talking to voters makes me feel hopeful.
Great. So in the next hour, our goal is going to be to call 78,000 people who are under 35 years old in Illinois' 9th Congressional District. We'll talk to them about voting for Kat Abou-Ghazaleh in the upcoming primary on March 17th. So if you could go ahead and please open up your call guide so that you can reference everything you need throughout the phone bank, that would be great. And they'll drop that in the chat. And so that call guide, it's in a tab, or sorry, you can open it up in a tab via the link smvmt.org/cat-guide. And this has all the